Tears stung Lily Carter's eyes as she sat hunched over on a wooden stool in the corner of the stable, the musty scent of hay and horse mingling with the salt of her grief. Autumn 1876 had arrived with a cruel swiftness, taking with it the last of summer's warmth and her husband of 3 years. Thomas had been taken by typhoid fever just as the leaves began to turn, leaving her alone with their modest ranch outside of Copper Creek, Colorado, and a mountain of debts she hadn't known existed. The soft wicker of her chestnut mare broke through her thoughts. The animal nudged at the empty feed bucket, oblivious to her mistress's pain. Lily wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, leaving a smudge of dirt across her cheek. Her black morning dress was already coated with dust and straw. She had come to the stable to saddle her horse, planning to ride into town to speak with the banker about an extension on their loan, but the enormity of her situation had overwhelmed her once again. "I cannot do this alone," she whispered to no one, her voice breaking. At 26, she was too young to be a widow, too inexperienced to run a cattle ranch, and now, it seemed, too broke to keep a roof over her head. "Madam, are you all right?" The deep voice startled her. Lily shot to her feet, nearly knocking over the stool in her haste. Standing in the stable doorway, silhouetted against the bright autumn sunshine, was a tall figure she didn't recognize. "Who are you?" she demanded, hastily wiping her tears away. "This is private property." The man stepped forward into the light, and Lily saw he was perhaps 30, with sun-bronzed skin and eyes the color of the summer sky. His clothes were dusty from the trail, and he wore a battered hat that had seen better days. "Name's Jack Hawkins, madam. Your neighbor Mr. Patterson sent me. Said you might be in need of a ranch hand." He paused, taking in her tear-stained face and disheveled appearance. "Seems he might have been right." "Mr. Patterson should mind his own business," Lily replied, her voice sharper than she intended. "I don't need charity." "It ain't charity I'm offering, madam. It's honest work in exchange for honest pay." His eyes drifted to the mare. "Were you heading somewhere? I noticed you haven't saddled up yet." Lily hesitated. She did need to get to town, and the truth was she had been struggling with the saddle. Thomas had always done it for her. "I was going to ride into Copper Creek. I have business at the bank." Jack nodded thoughtfully. "Mind if I help with that saddle? Then I can tell you what skills I can offer your ranch while you decide if you want to hire me." After a moment's consideration, Lily nodded. She watched as he moved with practiced ease, taking her mare's saddle from its peg and approaching the horse with gentle confidence. The animal, usually skittish with strangers, stood calm under his touch. "You have a way with horses," she observed reluctantly. "Been around them my whole life," he replied, tightening the cinch with practiced hands. "Grew up on a ranch in Wyoming Territory. Worked cattle drives from Texas to Kansas. Been a ranch hand, wrangler, and trail boss." His movements were efficient, his manner respectful. By the time he finished saddling the mare, Lily had composed herself. "What brings you to Colorado?" "Looking for a place to put down roots," he said simply. "Tired of the trail. Mr. Patterson mentioned your situation." He paused. "My condolences for your loss, Mrs. Carter." Lily stiffened at the reminder. "Thank you," she said stiffly, then added, "I cannot promise regular wages, Mr. Hawkins. My husband left. Complications." "I understand, madam. I'm willing to work for room and board to start, plus a small share of whatever profit we can generate." He led the horse out of the stall and offered her a hand to mount up. "Let me ride into town with you. We can discuss the details on the way." Something about his steady gaze and calm demeanor eased the tight knot of panic in Lily's chest. She needed help desperately, and here it was, offering itself without pretense. "Very well, Mr. Hawkins. Let me get my shawl from the house and you can saddle your own horse." Jack nodded. "Yes, madam." 20 minutes later, they rode side by side down the dusty trail toward Copper Creek. The autumn sun warmed Lily's back as Jack explained his ideas for making the ranch profitable again. "Your land has good water access," he observed. "And from what I saw riding in, the southern pasture could support twice the cattle you've got now if managed right." Thomas always said we should expand, Lily murmured, but we never had the capital. Sometimes it's not about more cattle but about better care for the ones you have, Jack replied. A healthy herd brings better prices. As they crested a hill overlooking Copper Creek, Lily found herself studying her companion. There was something reassuring about his presence, a quiet competence that she hadn't realized she was desperate for. The town was bustling when they arrived, wagons and riders crowding the main street. Lily's heart sank as she dismounted in front of the bank. This would not be a pleasant conversation. Would you prefer I wait out here? Jack asked. Lily hesitated, then shook her head. No, you should hear this too if you're serious about working for me. Inside, the banker, Harold Williams, barely concealed his disdain as he laid out Lily's situation in stark terms. The fact is, Mrs. Carter, your husband borrowed heavily against the ranch. The note comes due in 30 days, and unless you can pay the full amount, I'll have no choice but to foreclose. But the cattle, even if you sold every head, it wouldn't cover half the debt, Williams interrupted. Jack cleared his throat. Mr. Williams, what if Mrs. Carter could demonstrate that the ranch will be profitable by spring? The banker's eyebrows rose as he appraised Jack. And who might you be, sir? Jack Hawkins. I'm Mrs. Carter's new foreman. Lily's head whipped around to stare at him, but Jack continued smoothly. Mrs. Carter and I have a plan to make the ranch profitable within 6 months. We're requesting an extension on the loan until May 1st. Williams scoffed. And why would I agree to that? Because foreclosing now means you'll get pennies on the dollar at auction. Land values are down and winter's coming. But give us until spring and you'll get your money plus interest. The banker steepled his fingers. I'd need some assurance. Jack nodded. We'll pay the interest due now as a show of good faith. With what money? Lily whispered urgently. Jack reached into his vest pocket and pulled out a small leather pouch. He counted out several gold coins onto the banker's desk. Will this cover the interest payment, Mr. Williams? The banker's eyes widened slightly as he examined the coins. It will. But this is merely a delay of the inevitable, Mrs. Carter. Unless you can find a husband with deep pockets by spring, I don't see how you'll keep that ranch. Lily's cheeks burned with humiliation, but Jack merely tipped his hat. We appreciate your accommodation, sir. You'll have your money by May. Outside the bank, Lily rounded on him. Where did you get that money, and why would you use it for my debts? I've saved a bit from my years on the trail, Jack said calmly. And I didn't pay your debt, I invested in our partnership. I believe in that ranch, Mrs. Carter. You barely know me or my property, she protested. I'm a good judge of both land and character, he replied. Now, shall we buy supplies before heading back? Winter will be here before we know it. As they walked toward the general store, Lily noticed the curious glances from townsfolk. A widow in the company of a strange man was fodder for gossip. She lifted her chin, refusing to be cowed by their judgment. In the store, Jack efficiently assembled a list of necessities while consulting with Lily. His knowledge of ranch operations was evident in every suggestion. When the store owner, Martin Fletcher, sneered at Lily's request to put the purchases on credit, Jack smoothly intervened. We'll pay cash, he said, pulling out more coins. Fletcher's attitude changed immediately. Of course, sir, we can have these delivered tomorrow. No need. We'll take what we can now. I'll come back for the rest tomorrow with the wagon. As they loaded their purchases onto their horses, Lily finally asked the question that had been troubling her. Mr. Hawkins, why are you doing this, taking such a risk on a failing ranch and a widow you don't know? Jack secured a sack of flour to his saddle before answering. Everyone deserves a second chance, Mrs. Carter. I've had mine, now I'm offering you yours. He paused. And I meant what I said about wanting roots. This seems like good soil to plant them in. Lily studied his face, searching for deception but finding only sincerity. Very well, Mr. Hawkins, we have a deal, but I expect honest work and honest dealings. You'll get nothing less from me, he promised. The ride back to the ranch was quieter, each lost in their own thoughts. As they approached the property, Lily saw it through new eyes, not as a burden but as a possibility. The weathered fences could be mended, the sparse cattle herd improved, the fields made productive again. "We should discuss your accommodations," Lily said as they unsaddled the horses. "There's a small cabin behind the barn where the previous ranch hand stayed." Jack nodded. "That will suit me fine. I'll move my things in and start on the south fence before sundown." True to his word, Jack worked until dusk, repairing the fence line that had fallen into disrepair. Lily watched him from the kitchen window as she prepared a simple supper. For the first time since Thomas's death, she felt a flicker of hope. When she called him in to eat, Jack washed up at the pump outside, then entered the house, removing his hat respectfully. Over bean stew and cornbread, they discussed plans for the coming days, prioritizing repairs, evaluating the cattle herd, and preparing for winter. "We should sell those steers in the north pasture before the first snow," Jack suggested. "They won't make it through winter, and we can use the money for feed for the stronger stock." Lily nodded, impressed by his assessment. Thomas always had trouble deciding which animals to cull. "It's hard when you raise them from calves," Jack acknowledged, "but sentiment doesn't feed a herd." After supper, Jack excused himself to the cabin, leaving Lily alone with her thoughts. She sat by the fire, mending one of Thomas's old shirts for Jack to use for work. The day's events had exhausted her, but for the first time in weeks, her exhaustion wasn't tinged with despair. The following weeks established a rhythm to their days. Jack rose before dawn to begin chores, while Lily prepared breakfast and tended to the chickens and kitchen garden. They worked side by side, mending fences, treating sick cattle, and reinforcing the barn and outbuildings against the coming winter. Jack was a patient teacher, showing Lily skills Thomas had never bothered to share: how to properly saddle her horse, how to mend a fence, how to judge a cow's health at a glance. In turn, Lily's cooking improved as she prepared hearty meals to fuel their labor. The first snowfall came in early November, dusting the pastures with white. Jack had ridden to neighboring ranches, offering their services for cattle roundup and branding in exchange for help with their own diminished herd. The arrangement brought in a small income and fostered goodwill with nearby ranchers. One evening, as they sat by the fire after a long day's work, Lily noticed Jack examining a torn seam in his jacket. "Let me fix that for you," she offered, taking it from him. As she worked, Jack stoked the fire. "You're getting stronger," he observed. "I saw you lifting those feed bags today without trouble." Lily smiled, realizing he was right. The constant work had hardened her muscles and weathered her skin. The pampered rancher's wife was gone, replaced by a woman who understood the land and its demands. "Thomas never wanted me to do ranch work," she admitted. "He thought it unseemly." Jack considered this. "My mother worked alongside my father every day of their marriage. She was the finest horsewoman I ever knew and could throw a rope as well as any cowhand." His voice softened with memory. "They had a true partnership." "That sounds lovely," Lily said wistfully. "Thomas and I, well, we had an arrangement more than a partnership. An arranged marriage." "Not exactly, but I was 23 with few prospects in Philadelphia. When Thomas visited my father's store and took an interest in me, it seemed a sensible match." She returned his mended jacket. "I thought adventure awaited me in the West." "And instead you got hard work and hardship," Jack said. "Yes, but also." She gestured to the window where the moon illuminated the snow-covered landscape, beauty I never imagined and a strength I didn't know I possessed. Their eyes met across the firelight, and something unspoken passed between them, recognition, perhaps, of kindred spirits. The harsh winter months brought them closer together by necessity. When a blizzard howled around the ranch house for 3 days straight, they worked in concert to keep the livestock fed and watered, breaking ice from troughs and distributing precious hay from the barn. During the long evenings trapped indoors, they shared stories. Jack told of cattle drives across the open plains, of nights sleeping under star-filled skies, and of the characters he'd met on the frontier. Lily spoke of her childhood in Philadelphia, her dreams of adventure, and eventually, the truth about her marriage to Thomas. He wasn't cruel, she explained one night. Just distant, more concerned with appearances than connection. She poked at the fire. When he got sick, I realized I knew very little about him, including our financial situation. Some men think they're protecting women by keeping them in the dark, Jack observed. My father always said that was nonsense. A woman who doesn't know the state of her own household is vulnerable, not protected. Your father sounds like a wise man. He was, Jack agreed quietly. Lost him and my mother to influenza when I was 19. That's when I took to the trail. I'm sorry, Lily said, understanding his loss in a way few could. As February turned to March, the snow began to recede. New calves appeared in the pastures, tottering on spindly legs beside their mothers. Jack and Lily worked round the clock during calving season, sometimes sleeping in shifts in the barn to tend to difficult births. One night, after helping a heifer deliver twins, a rare and fortunate event, they sat together on a hay bale, exhausted but triumphant. The mother cow licked her calves clean as Jack and Lily watched. Life finds a way, Jack murmured, his shoulder touching Lily's. She was acutely aware of his proximity, of the warmth radiating from his body in the cool barn. Yes, she whispered, it does. The moment stretched between them, fragile as a spider's web. Then Jack cleared his throat and stood. You should get some rest. I'll keep watch for a while. Lily nodded, suddenly unsure. She had felt something shift between them in recent weeks, a deepening of their professional relationship into something warmer, something that made her pulse quicken when their hands accidentally touched, or when she caught him watching her across the room. By April, the ranch was transformed. The cattle were healthy, the fences mended, and the outbuildings repaired. Jack had bargained shrewdly with cattle buyers, securing good prices for their spring calves. Their ledger showed a modest profit for the first time since Lily had taken over. We did it, she marveled, looking at the figures. We can pay Williams his money. With some to spare, Jack confirmed. You should be proud, Lily. This was your determination as much as my know-how. It was the first time he had used her given name, and the sound of it in his deep voice sent a shiver through her that had nothing to do with the spring breeze. We make a good team, she said softly. Jack's eyes held hers. We do. The moment was broken by the sound of approaching hooves. Jack moved to the window. Rider coming, looks like Patterson. Their neighbor dismounted in the yard, his expression grim. Afternoon, Lily. Jack. I've got news from town. Williams is selling the bank to a big outfit from Denver. Word is they're planning to call in all outstanding loans immediately. Lily's heart sank. But we have until May 1st. We have the money. Patterson shook his head. New owners don't care about prior arrangements. They're planning to consolidate all the smaller ranches into one big operation. Jack's jaw tightened. When is this happening? Bank changes hands next Monday. Figure you've got a week at most before they come calling. After Patterson left, Lily paced the kitchen. What do we do now? Everything we've worked for. We fight, Jack said simply. We have the money. We ride into town tomorrow and pay off that loan before the new owners can call it in. Lily stopped pacing. You think that will work? We've got a signed agreement with Williams. If we fulfill our end before the sale, legally they can't touch this place. The next morning, they rode to town with the loan payment securely stowed in Jack's saddlebag. The main street was unusually busy, with knots of people engaged in worried conversation. At the bank, they found Williams clearing out his desk. He looked up in surprise. Mrs. Carter, Mr. Hawkins. I wasn't expecting you until next week. We've come to pay off the Carter loan in full, Jack announced, placing the money on the desk. As per our agreement. Williams hesitated. Well, you see, the situation has changed. The bank is being sold. Our agreement hasn't changed, Lily interrupted, finding her voice. We're honoring our commitment. You need to honor yours. I'm afraid it's not that simple. Jack leaned forward, his voice low but firm. It is exactly that simple, Mr. Williams. Either you accept this payment and provide Mrs. Carter with a receipt showing the loan paid in full, or we'll take this matter to Judge Thornton. I understand he's not fond of bankers who change terms after agreements are made." Williams paled. The judge was known for his harsh view of financial improprieties. "Very well," he said reluctantly, "I'll process the payment." Outside the bank, Lily clutched the receipt like a lifeline. "We did it," she breathed. "The ranch is safe." Jack smiled, but his eyes were troubled. "For now." "But those Denver businessmen won't be happy to lose a piece of their planned empire." "What can they do? We've paid the loan. Men with money can be creative when they want something. We should be prepared." His prediction proved accurate. 3 days later, a sleek carriage pulled up to the ranch house. 2 men in expensive suits emerged, one young and arrogant, the other older with cold, calculating eyes. "Mrs. Carter?" the older man inquired when Lily opened the door. "I'm Edward Simmons, president of Frontier Banking Corporation." "This is my associate, Mr. Davis. We'd like to discuss your property." Lily straightened her spine. "There's nothing to discuss. My loan with the bank is paid in full." "Yes, we're aware of your hasty transaction with Mr. Williams," Simmons said smoothly. "However, we're prepared to offer you a very generous sum for your land, far more than it's worth, frankly." Jack appeared from the barn, walking slowly toward the house. Simmons frowned at his approach. "My foreman, Mr. Hawkins," Lily introduced. "Any business regarding this ranch concerns him as well." Simmons barely acknowledged Jack. "As I was saying, Mrs. Carter, we're prepared to offer you $5,000 for your property. That's twice its market value." "The ranch isn't for sale," Lily replied firmly. "Mrs. Carter, you must understand. This land is part of a larger development plan. Your refusal is inconvenient." "I'm sorry to inconvenience you," Lily said, not sounding sorry at all, "but this is my home." Davis, the younger man, stepped forward. "Perhaps you don't understand your situation. A woman alone can't possibly manage this property long term. Accidents happen on ranches all the time." Jack moved to Lily's side, his hand resting casually near his holstered pistol. "Mrs. Carter isn't alone. And she understands her situation perfectly well." Simmons assessed Jack with new interest. "Mr. Hawkins, isn't it? I'm sure a man of your background would understand the value of $5,000. Perhaps you could help Mrs. Carter see reason." "Mrs. Carter sees just fine," Jack replied coldly, "and so do I. This land isn't for sale at any price." The banker's face hardened. "You're making a mistake, both of you." "The only mistake would be staying here any longer when you're not welcome," Lily said. "Good day, gentlemen." After they departed, Lily's hands trembled. "Was that a threat?" Jack nodded grimly. "Pretty clear one. We need to be careful. I'll ride to the neighboring ranches, let them know what's happening. Simmons won't just target us." The next week brought a series of troubling incidents. A section of fence was cut, allowing cattle to wander onto the road. The well was found contaminated with oil, and rumors circulated in town that Lily Carter was living in sin with her hired hand, damaging her reputation. Through it all, Jack and Lily worked side by side, repairing the damage, watching for intruders and strengthening their defenses. The neighboring ranchers, facing similar pressures, formed a mutual protection agreement. One night, as they sat on the porch watching for trespassers, Lily voiced the question that had been haunting her. "What if they don't stop? What if it gets worse?" Jack was silent for a long moment. "We could sell," he finally said. "Take the money and start over somewhere else." "Is that what you want?" He turned to her, his face illuminated by the moonlight. "What I want is to stay right here with you." He took her hand gently. "These past months working alongside you, watching you grow into this land. Lily, I've never met anyone like you." Her heart pounded as his fingers intertwined with hers. "I feel the same," she whispered. "When Thomas died, I thought my life was over, but now I realize it was just beginning." Jack's free hand rose to cup her cheek. "I don't have much to offer except hard work and devotion. But if you'll have me, I'd like to build something permanent here, together. Nothing would make me happier," Lily replied, leaning into his touch. Their lips met in a tender kiss that quickly deepened. When they finally parted, both breathless, Jack rested his forehead against hers. "I've been wanting to do that for months," Lily smiled. "What took you so long, Cowboy?" Their moment was shattered by the sound of breaking glass. Jack leapt to his feet. "Fire!" he shouted, seeing flames erupting from the barn window. They raced toward the blaze. Jack threw open the barn doors, rushing in to free the horses while Lily ran to organize a bucket line from the well. The neighboring ranchers, seeing the glow in the night sky, arrived to help fight the fire. By dawn, the barn was a smoldering ruin, but the horses had been saved and the house preserved. A broken whiskey bottle with a kerosene-soaked rag was found nearby, clear evidence of arson. Sheriff Miller surveyed the damage with a grim expression. "This has gone too far. I'll have a talk with Mr. Simmons." "Will that do any good?" Lily asked skeptically. "Probably not," the sheriff admitted. "But I can make it clear that next time we'll have proof, and burning down a barn is a hanging offense." After the sheriff and neighbors departed, Jack and Lily stood amid the charred remains of the barn. Despite the destruction, Lily felt strangely calm. "They think this will break us," she said. "Make us give up." Jack put his arm around her shoulders. "They don't know who they're dealing with." "No," Lily agreed, leaning into him. "They don't." The next day, Jack rode into town alone despite Lily's protests. He returned hours later with a satisfied expression. "What did you do?" Lily asked, concerned by the slight bruising on his knuckles. "Had a private conversation with Mr. Davis." "The younger one. Seems he's not as committed to Simmons's methods as his boss thought." Jack flexed his hand. "After some persuasion, he admitted Simmons authorized the fire. He also told me about some questionable banking practices that Judge Thornton would find very interesting." 2 days later, Sheriff Miller arrived with news. "Simmons has been arrested on multiple charges of fraud. The bank purchase is being investigated, and it seems Frontier Banking Corporation is suddenly very anxious to avoid further scandal." "Meaning?" Lily prompted. "Meaning they've withdrawn all interest in acquiring local properties. You're safe, Mrs. Carter. Your ranch is yours." After the sheriff left, Jack took Lily's hands. "So, Mrs. Carter, what now?" She smiled up at him. "Now we rebuild together." "Together," he agreed, sealing the promise with a kiss. They married 2 weeks later in a simple ceremony attended by their neighbors. The barn was rebuilt with the help of the community, stronger than before. By summer, the ranch was thriving with a growing herd and expanding fields. One evening a year after Jack had first found her crying in the stable, Lily stood on the porch of their home, watching him return from checking the herd. The setting sun gilded his figure as he rode toward her, and her heart swelled with love and contentment. "Welcome home," she called as he dismounted. Jack climbed the steps and gathered her into his arms. "Best words in the English language," he murmured against her hair. "I have news," Lily said, taking his hand and placing it on her slightly rounded belly. "Our family is growing." Jack's eyes widened, then filled with tears of joy. He dropped to his knees, pressing his lips to where their child grew. "Hello, little one," he whispered. "You've got the strongest, bravest mother in Colorado," looking up at Lily, his face shone with love, "and the happiest father." Later that night, as they lay together in their bed, Lily reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From tears in the stable to a love she had never imagined possible. From the depths of grief to the heights of joy. "What are you thinking about?" Jack asked, stroking her hair. "How endings can be beginnings," she replied. "How the darkest days can lead to the brightest futures." "Speaking of futures," Jack said, "I was thinking we might expand the orchard next spring, plant some apple trees for our child to climb." "Apple trees take years to mature," Lily observed. "Yes," Jack agreed, his hand resting protectively over their growing baby. "We'll be here to see them bear fruit, all of us together." "Promise," Lily whispered. Jack kissed her softly. "With all my heart." Outside, the Colorado night spread its starry canopy over the ranch, their home, their future. The place where a widow's tears had transformed into a new life filled with love, purpose, and the promise of tomorrow.